Hey everybody. It's kind of melancholy because it's the last scary movie month reserved seating for 2022. I know this month went by really, really quickly. Um, Rob, congratulations on the Philadelphia Phillies making the World Series since first time since 2008.
2009. Excuse me.
Oh, no,
2009.
you're wrong. You're actually wrong.
Go Phillies. Scary movie month.
Scary movie month is coming to a close. As you're watching this, it is October 27th. So let's start off. We had a stack of movies that we said we were going to watch at the beginning of the month. Patrick, would you like to go first? What did you think of the first of your three movies?
I'm trying to remember what my three movies were. One was The Kindred, which I know we watched during mine and Erica's 24-hour marathon, and I have to be honest, I slept through like half of it, but what I saw was weird and kind of inventive, a lot of practical makeup effects. Um, I need to go back and rewatch the whole thing because it was the one I think that I slept through the most, unfortunately.
One that I said I was going to watch was I've actually already mentioned a couple times, which was Pulse. And I think I've already mentioned that I thought that was great. I do actually want to revisit it one more time before the end of Scary Movie Month. One of the really genuinely scary movies that I saw this month.
And let's see, I got Once Bitten and Love at First Bite. So I watched Once Bitten. You can find this in the comedy section under L for Love at First Bite because that is the leading feature. The B features Once Bitten. So I thought that it was okay. It had like a song where they're just like Once Bitten, and I kind of like that because it was like 80s. And I put in my 7-word review that I appreciate 80s comedies that are never funny. I find them very relaxing. So this was like a perfect, like I put it on, I was laying on the couch. I was like, how much is left in this? But I enjoyed it.
My second movie was Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory. It's not great. It's very slow, very little werewolf, very
What
little girls'
happened?
dormitory.
Oh,
Not one of my favorite Italian horror films of the 1960s.
my second one was what did I say? Oh, Trouble Every Day. I mentioned that briefly on our podcast the other day, Patrick. The more I think about it, the more I'm into it. It's esoteric, and I would like to go back and kind of give it. We talk a lot about the watch that you watch when you're watching it for the first time and expecting something, and then the watch once you know the movie and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll try again. So I look forward to doing it again. I acknowledge I've read some really good stuff about it after I watched it. And again, as it seems to be my refrain lately, which is I didn't see that in that movie, but I'm glad you did. So I look forward to revisiting it.
All right, my next pick is
Don't hit anything behind you.
well, uh oh sorry, Boiler Room. That's just a really good movie. I got this recommended to me by my store manager, Pat Cassette. We're at the 555 Main Street store, number 217 in Town State, zip 01994. So and we just got a copy of Chicago back in. So if you were calling about Chicago, it's guaranteed in stock, so that saves us some coupons, so that's good. Oh, but my next pick was Mad Monster Party, which is on the New Bev calendar all the time. And I was like, one of these years, and this was the year, and I would put this in the category of great movie to hello. Great movie to have
Oh
on.
no, Butterball, it's all stop motion.
I would say it's great to have on with the volume down at a bar when you're drinking and there's like loud house music playing or something. But to watch it with the volume on, you have to suffer through what's his name? I can't find his name, but there's a voice actor who does most of the voices, and he does a Jimmy Stewart impression for one character and a Peter Lorre impression for another character, and it's the most annoying thing in an old movie since Tom Ewell in The 7-Year Itch. So I was not a fan of Mad Monster Party.
My third pick is also like my big find of the month, and that's The Wicker Man, which I know when we did the original show, you guys were both like, I can't believe you haven't seen The Wicker Man. We're excited for you to watch The Wicker Man. The Wicker Man's amazing. I talked about it on a podcast. It was my favorite new discovery this month, besides The Circle, which technically I watched on September 30th and thankfully just returned to Adam's BBV.
Yeah, you got on late feet.
Justice for Mercer.
Justice for Mercer.
The Wicker Man is amazing. The Wicker Man is a secret musical.
Mm.
The Wicker Man rules, and we have already ordered the Blu-ray.
I spent
Yeah.
that whole bit, Adam, looking to see if I could remember what my third one was. And I couldn't. So I'm just gonna say that I watched the original Blob from 1958, in which Steve McQueen plays a 45-year-old teenager.
Okay. All right. So my last pick is well, this is just a quick. Can I do a quick plug? Quick
Yeah, do a
ad.
quick plug, that's fine.
End of days, $7.99 PVT now. And then my last pick is the Invisible Ray, which is on the Bela Lugosi collection. It was my last remaining movie on here that I hadn't seen. It contains Murders in the Rue Morgue, The Black Cat, The Raven, The Invisible Ray, and Black Friday. The Invisible Ray, unfortunately, is the weak link of the five. It's okay. Karloff gets infected by radiation. He's glowing and is dangerous. And Lugosi kind of is the straight man, which is great because he's really good at it. And I don't see that in him all that often in other movies. So it was okay. But like, if I'm going to pull this disc off the shelf, I'm never going to like go to the Invisible Ray again. So what were some of your standout new to me watches or discoveries this month? For me, kind of the I guess the headline of the month is it's the month I fell in love with Terrifier out of nowhere. So this movie, like, I knew Art the Clown, but it was like in one ear out the other. It might as well been like, you know, any horror icon that like I'm just like, oh well, that's indie, like off my radar indie. And then Patrick, like, I texted you and I said, do you think I would like the Terrifier movies? And you said no. And then in my head, I'm just like, will you stop talking about them then? Because I'm there. So like, I was more hyped to see Terrifier 2, but I knew that I should probably. But all right, so like, this is gonna be a little bit of a long story. So like, I wanted to see Terrifier 2. I was nervous because of all the press with like fainting and vomiting and stuff like that. And I have fainted in movies before, so like I didn't want that to happen. So I watched Freevee, I watched Terrifier, and I was just like, okay, I handled this. I should be fine. And then when I went to the theater, I got so nervous. I had like almost a panic attack. And like during the trailers, I was just like, oh my God. And it's for like Pray for the Devil, which is like, I found out rated PG-13. And I'm like, what is happening to me? And then Terrifier 2 is amazing. It's like Satan's Little Helper was directed by James Cameron, and I love it. And then real quick, a couple other ones that are standouts. I'm Dangerous Tonight by our boy Toby. Great. I love it. I love Machen Amick. She can make the silliest premise seem earnest and sincere. It was just like a really fun watch. And then I saw a movie at the Music Box of Horrors this morning called Flesh Eater, which is like, I think, an unsanctioned, unapproved Night of the Living Dead ripoff. It was Bill Hinsman, who was like the cemetery ghost. I'm not sure how much George A. Romero was like, he cast this guy like in a bunch of other movies like Night Riders and stuff like that, but I don't know how much he was like on board with Flesh Eater. But it's charming because it's so clearly like made in Pennsylvania with amateur actors, and some of their dialogue is just so silly. Like the final couple are like consoling each other before the posse comes, and they're like looking for zombies, and they're just like, we should raise our kids in Tampa. And they're just like, yeah, that seems like a good place to raise children. And it's just like random ass dialogue like that. So at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning, it was really fun.
I'll do two. I'll shout out your boy Adam, James Bond III, and go Death by Temptation. That movie rules. That movie's super fun. I talked about this with Patrick already, so I won't repeat myself. But basically, just I love the DIY aspect of it. I love the fact that there was that kind of homemade sincerity to it. I love that it was like it was fun and funny and sexy and weird, and they leaned into the violence of it. They really like you could tell they were really trying to build like scares. They were trying to build, and I don't mean trying in a condescending way. Like obviously the movie has its rough edges, but that just endeared it to me all the more. I thought it was really fun. And then the other one is not technically a movie, but I do feel like it qualifies. This scary movie month kind of interspersed between other things. I finally started watching the What We Do in the Shadows TV show, which is stellar. I really thought that the bit of the movie was gonna run cold, especially since I'm kind of cooling on Taika lately. But it's hard to beat Matt Berry, and that whole cast is wonderful. And they managed to vary up the formula a little bit while still keeping a similar vibe to the movie. So I've been enjoying that. I finished like the first season. I'm not sure how many there are, but really really strong. I liked it a lot.
I've got two recommendations on Shudder. One is Deadstream, which is like a found footage Evil Dead movie, kind of, directed by Joseph Winter. And the other is VHS 99, which I had fun with. I like the VHS movies, even though I think they're uneven. This one's just as uneven as the other ones. There's like two segments that I think are really good. The little bit I've seen online, everybody's different on what segments they think are the standouts. So don't take my word for it. But I thought two of them were really strong, and the rest were like decent to okay. And then I've also been watching a lot of the Dread Central Presents titles since we talked about Nina Forever, and they're real hit or miss. But I watched one last night, a Korean movie called Midnight, that I think is definitely worth seeing.
Did you say Midnight's?
Just Midnight, not Midnights. Sorry, yeah. I think maybe you're thinking of something else.
I must be thinking of something else. I don't know what.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Patrick, you mentioned streaming. Is that a 2-day rental or is that a 5-day rental? Like any bumps, any rewatches that took a movie up a notch for you this month?
For me it was Twins of Evil. I had to watch 8 Hammer movies this month for the podcast that came out this week.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a drag. I like Hammer movies. They're like comfort movies, but the obligation to watch so many of them on top of having to watch so many of another type of movie, by the end I was like, I don't know if I could do this. And then Twins of Evil was my last one, and I kind of like late period sleazy nudity gore Hammer.
Yeah.
I like all iterations of Hammer, but I really like that late period, so Twins of Evil jumped up for me.
For me, my bumps, Last Man on Earth, like, just gets better every time I see it. I watch it probably once every couple of years, but I think it's at the point now where it's my favorite Vincent Price movie. It's just so easy to put on, and I just like the mood it sets. And then I saw The Night of the Hunter for the second time at the Music Box of Horrors, and for some reason, I don't know if it was just because I was watching a movie that I had heard for years was a classic. I was really tough on it the first time. And then just seeing it in a theater with no distractions was the way to go. Like, I thought it was amazing. And then Hostel. I watched that last night for the first time since opening night. And yeah, it's funny because I think back in 2006, I was like, man, it really sucks for my peers of what's going on with them. And now I'm just like, oh God, they're awful. So it sort of like is the mirror reflecting back to itself. But Blockbuster, Adam, and my store manager, Pat Cassette, were just like, oh, these are our guys.
And then I'm going to say something that may be a little surprising, but I rewatched Nope. I like it about 20% more.
Nice. There we go.
Eventually, maybe I'll get there.
Yeah, so anything for the rest of the month as of this taping that you're looking forward to or planning on watching either in theaters or at home, anything like that?
So we're recording this a couple of days out. It doesn't quite feel like the end of Scary Movie Month yet to me right now, because we still have a solid couple days. So by the time you watch this, it'll be a little different. But I definitely, this last week is always when I make a list of what everybody else is watching and really responded to. So like I'm Dangerous Tonight, Terrifier 1 and 2 will be on there. Like I essentially just make a list of what was really kind of popping on our little community over the course of the month, and try to knock out as many of those as I can. So it'll all be stuff like that that's been recommended.
I've just been revisiting so much. I haven't done a lot of like first time watches this month, I realize. So I plan to revisit the first two Hostel movies after talking to you about it last night. I don't know what else.
Yeah, I'm gonna have like a run of seeing stuff in theaters that's just kind of rep stuff. So I'm gonna go see The Lost Boys and House of Wax, and the Vincent Price one, and Dawn of the Dead 3D, Bram Stoker's Dracula. So that's how I'm gonna spend my last week, and I'm excited because I
Nice.
haven't seen any of those in a theater before. So I have a spooky story to tell you guys from today. So I'll leave out the name of the store so you can keep this in if you want.
I love
Um,
to hear it.
yeah, thanks, Ben. Protect me, Ben. So I went to a store they promoted at the Music Box of Horrors, and I was just like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. And it was sort of like a museum of the weird-ish type store. So like you go in there for like eccentricities and oddities and things like that, but it's also kind of like a horror merch store and things like that. So I walk in, it's a store, it's innocent enough. I just like was looking around. I saw a Home Alone 2 Lost in New York board game, and I was like pulling that out. I'm just like, well, this is intriguing. And then I get to the counter and I'm talking to the guy who works there, and he's just like, we have a tour if you want, and it's $5. And at the end of it, there's like a video store, and there's like arcade games and things like that. And we also go into like things about like carnival performers and stuff like that. So I was just like, I've done stuff like that in Austin before. Sounds pretty cool. So I give him $5 and I get my ticket and everything. And he's like, okay, I have to curate it for you. So like, I hate that though. Like, I want to kind of like just go through it and not like at my own pace. And I don't really want like people kind of, hosting it for me. I find it awkward. So I get in there, cramped hallway, narrow. They're going into stuff about like the World's Fair and carnival performers. And I see a picture of the guy with like no lower half of his body from Freaks. And I'm like, oh, that's the guy from Freaks and everything. So like the guy was just kind of like, oh, I'm impressed that you even knew who that was. Nobody knows who that is. So I go, he's like, I gotta go back to the front, but like you keep walking and I'll meet up with you like further on down the thing. So I turn left. I go down the hallway, I turn left, and it's like hallway of serial killers, like true crime serial killers. I don't want that shit in my head. I don't like that stuff. Like I have no interest in learning about it. So I just like walk right past it. And then I turned to the left to go down a flight of stairs to go to the video store arcade. The video store arcade I can best describe is like the basement from the Blair Witch Project with 4 pinball machines. It is terrifying, and I had it in my head like, fuck, this is the place with the with the Hall of Serial Killers. So I get down there, the guy comes up to me and he just goes, you got to go back upstairs. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I have to tell you about the serial killer hall. And I'm like, no, I'm like, it's cool. Like I walked right past it, like, because I'm just not interested. And I said, like, I don't want that stuff in my head. So he's just like, it's part of my job. I got to do it. And I'm like, you really don't have to do it. And he's just like, I kind of have to, or I'll get in trouble. So I'm just like, okay. So he starts walking back upstairs. I have to walk back upstairs anyway because I'm in a basement. Yeah. So like, I walk up the stairs. At the top of the stairs, straight ahead of me, I didn't realize because I just had tunnel vision. I was like, I got to get out of the Hall of Serial Killers. It is a replica of the death row cell of John Wayne Gacy, with a ton of paintings. And I was just like, are these replica paintings and letters and stuff? And he's like, no, we own the John Wayne Gacy death row collection. These are the real paintings and the real letters. And there's like TVs with videos of like him being interviewed and stuff. And he's like, and here's a picture of her with like, of him with his sister and stuff. And he's just like, we keep this here because we're reopening the investigation because we think he has a lot of accomplices. and all this stuff. And I'm like, I have my mask on, my COVID mask and everything. And he cannot see behind my mask that I am like cringing so hard and squirming and stuff. And then he sees that like I'm not into this at all. So I'm just like, and he's like, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. This guy's a fucking monster. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to know any of this stuff. And he's just like, no, but just keep in mind, we're reopening the investigation. We're doing what we can. I'm just like, I'm fine. I don't care. So it's real awkward. So I'm just like, hey, I got like 15 minutes on my parking thing. I got to get out of here. And then he's just like, don't you want to see the pinball machines and stuff? And I'm just like, okay. And I don't know why. The only thing it reminded me of the scene in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the remake, where Stellan Skarsgård invites Daniel Craig in, and Daniel Craig knows that he's a serial killer, and Stellan Skarsgård is just like, it's so weird. You just did it so you didn't seem impolite, but I'm going to kill you. So it was the exact same thing.
No, Patrick is
down there.
Sorry.
There's a Bram Stoker's Dracula pinball machine. There's a Mary Shelley's Frankenstein pinball machine. He's like jiggling with it. He's just like, man, the guy who played this last got a real high score. And I'm just like, I don't want to be here. So like, I was just like, all right, I gotta go. And then I basically just kind of like poofed it up the stairs and stuff. And I'm like about to walk out, and he's just like, is everything okay? And I'm like, I don't mean to insult you and stuff, but like, and if I did, I'm sorry. Like, I just am not into like the serial killer thing. And I kind of got spooked by like the John Wayne Gacy stuff. And he's just like, no, it happens. And then I walked out, and that was it.
Now, Patrick, you hate, for as much as you love horror movies, you hate like experiential, like haunted houses and stuff. How are you doing with that?
I can't navigate all the awkwardness. It's making me very upset.
He should have known when I pulled the Home Alone 2 Lost in New York board game that I might not want the deep dive on John Wayne Gacy's Death Row collection. Next week, we will be back with a themed month around who? Don't say John Wayne Gacy.
I'm sorry. Is he in the room with me right now?
He might be in the room. Is that Ted Danson thing from 3 Men and a Baby?
Yeah.
Ben Affleck! Rob,
here.
what movie are we reviewing first? It's a Rob pick for the first week.
Oh shit, is it? We're gonna watch Gone Girl.
Yeah. So until next time, have a very happy Halloween, and
thank you, Patrick.
These seats are reserved. Thank you.